Now, my next guest is a South African entrepreneur who has been outspoken about the plight of white farmers in South Africa.
There are 2 farm attacks every day in South Africa, 2 murders of farmers every week. Being a South African farmer is the most dangerous profession in South Africa.
White farmers in South Africa have been exposed to an unprecedented wave of violence. That prompted President Donald Trump to confront the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, in the Oval Office in late May.
We have many people that feel they're being persecuted and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that.
And you'll remember President Trump then rolled in a big screen and showed Cyril and his entourage just how grave the problem is in South Africa.
Turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land.
Let's bring in Rob Hersov. Rob, welcome to the program. The South African president, backed by much of the media, claims white farmers are not really at much increased risk, that they make up a tiny fraction of murders in South Africa. What's your response to that?
That it's absolute nonsense. Being a South African farmer is the most dangerous profession in the country. You're 3 times more likely to be murdered as a South African farmer than as a policeman in South Africa, and twice as likely to be murdered as a policeman than as a civilian. It's economic genocide, and the farmers are at the front end of that.
Now, tell me about these attacks. How often are they happening? And what are the levels of violence? We hear obviously about the worst cases where families are murdered, but are there other intimidation tactics? What else is happening?
So it's all come out of the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, which is a party that has almost 10% of the voting population. We have 60 million people in South Africa, and we have, I think, 24 million voters. So 10% of that, 2.4 million people back Julius Malema and the Economic Freedom Fighters, who are hardcore leftists, jumping up and down in stadiums saying, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, one settler, one bullet. And in an interview, Julius Malema said, we will slit the throat of whiteness, but not yet. And this, with our captured High Court and our captured judiciary, captured by the ANC, claims that it is not hate speech. But attacks on farms spike after these parades, after this hate speech. And it's a terrible situation that only in the last 48 hours did the White House say to a group of 3 leading Afrikaners that went over there to see the White House at their request, did the White House say to the ANC government, this needs to be made a priority crime. And until now, spineless Cyril Ramaphosa and his kleptocratic and ineptocratic ANC and the lapdog media in South Africa has been dismissing it, saying South Africa is a violent place. You know, farm murders are nothing out of the ordinary. Not true. The statistics make it very clear that it is a terrible situation and needs to be highlighted and prioritized as a priority crime.
Now, since 1994, there have been something like 100 race-based laws that have been implemented in South Africa. What's been the impact of these laws?
So South Africa is the most racist country in the world. You'd think, having got rid of apartheid in 1994, having peacefully handed power from a white minority government to democracy in South Africa, you'd think the last thing that our country would want is to return to a racist situation. But the ANC government has instituted 114 race-based laws since 1994, and they're doubling down. They're increasing them under the guise of transformation. But what is black economic empowerment? Theft. What is expropriation without compensation? theft. The ANC government has instituted racism in order to basically break and steal the economy. And a report came out recently by Professor William Gumede, who said that black economic empowerment, those wonderful 3 words that you'd think, oh, it sounds very nice, I could probably accept that, has transferred 100 trillion rand to 100 families in the last 24 years. The ANC has run our country for 24 years, have introduced 114 race-based laws since 1994, and there's economic genocide taking place, not just against white people, but against colored people and Indian people as well. It's horrific. We're on the edge of economic collapse, on becoming a failed state, thanks to the ANC.
Now, Rob, you're in the country, you're in Australia. What would your message be to our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, about what's happening in South Africa and what he can do to exert some pressure? Because we saw during apartheid, great pressure exerted on South Africa to change its ways. Other than Donald Trump, no one else seems to be speaking about this.
Well, I don't have much faith in leftist governments like Canada and Australia to actually say or do anything. You know, all we ask of the world, of the decent part of the world, is just tell the truth. Just tell it like it is. And Donald Trump has basically stood up and said, I'm not happy with what's going on in South Africa. I'm pointing a spotlight on the country, and we're going to make sure that punishment fits the crime. And I'm not sure what that is and when it's going to come, but Donald Trump and his administration, I have to salute them. And I wish Albanese would even stand up and put a spotlight on South Africa, but I don't have much hope for that.
Well, let's hope he changes his mind. There are many South Africans in this country. We've got quite a big expat population, and let's hope they speak up. You have been very outspoken, very brave in talking about this issue, and we really do appreciate your time, Rob. Thank you for joining me tonight.